is Cheryl Giochoa. So for today, I'm going to be presenting to you on how to install the computer systems and networks. But first, we need to know the parts of computer systems and the tools that we are going to use. So let's get started! System keys. The primary function of the computer system unit is to hold all the other components together and protect the sensitive electronic parts from the outside elements. Motherboard. A motherboard is one of the most essential parts of a computer system. It holds together many of the crucial components of a computer, including the central processing unit, memory, and connectors for input and output devices. Power supply is an electronic device that supplies electric energy to an electric load. The primary function of a power supply is to convert one form of electrical energy to another, and as a result, power supplies are sometimes referred to as electrical power converters. Network card. The network card allows data to be transferred between the computer and network. Random access memory is a computer hardware that serves as a temporary data storage. Memory works by storing and supplying the necessary data. It needs fast processor to be processed into information. Central processing unit is a piece of hardware that carries out the instructions of a computer program. It performs the basic arithmetical, logical, and input or output operations of a computer system. The CPU is like the brains of the computer. Every instruction, no matter how simple, has to go through the CPU. Hard disk drive stores and provides relatively quick access to large amounts of data on an electromagnetically charged surface or set of surfaces. Graphics card connects to the motherboard of a computer system and generates output images to display. Graphics cards are also referred as video cards. Graphics cards include a processing unit, memory, a cooling mechanism, and connections to a display device. Ports. A port is an interface between a computer to another computer or peripheral devices. A mainly used port is the USB port. Heatsink. A component designed to lower the temperature of an electronic device by dissipating heat into the surrounding air. CD-ROM stands for Compact Disc Read-Only Memory. Stores computer data of graphics, text, and audio. DVD-ROM, also known as Digital Versatile Disc, is used to permanently store data files and distribute large software applications that exceed the capacity of a CD-ROM. Screwdrivers and nut drivers. You should have at a minimum small and medium-sized Phillips and flat screwdrivers and 1/4 nut driver. Needle nose pliers or forceps. Very small needle nose pliers or tweezers are very handy for removing and inserting jumpers on motherboards and hard drives. Cable ties. Plastic cable ties are useful for neatly bundling wires and cables away from fans and other components inside the computer. Anti-static kit. An anti-static kit consists of a rubberized mat and a wrist strap that attach to the both mat and the computer or electronic device you're working on. Heatsink compound. Heatsink compound improves the thermal efficiency of heatsinks and improves cooling. Canless air duster. Canless air duster is used to blow dust out of the nooks and crannies of your computer. Small container. You'll need a small container to hold the various screws, jumpers, and other small parts used to assemble and configure a home-built computer. Step 1. Remove side panels on case. After removing the case from the panels are removed from this case with thumb screws. Your specific model's manual will have more information if you are unsure for your case. Step 2. Insert motherboard. Before setting the board in, the panel faceplate needs to be snapped into the location in the back of the case. Be sure to orient it to the board. Once the board is resting in the case, line up the first hole. Do not tighten all the way down until all screws are started so that the others will line up. After all are in and tightened, there should be a little or no deflection of the board if you gently press on it. It is advisable that any place there is a mounting location for the board that it is screwed into a standoff. This will provide support while installing the components into the motherboard. Step 3. Check clearances. Being that this computer includes high-performance components, some of them are large enough that clearance can become an issue. Step 4. Front panel connections. Once the graphics card was removed again, it is time to attach the connections for the buttons, lights, USB ports, and audio connections. As every case and motherboard differs slightly, it is best to refer to the manual for the placement and orientation of connections. Step 5. Install power supply. The power supply from the previous case was modular, so only the cables that are needed are plugged into the unit. As well, this makes cable management clearer in the end. Normally, the supply is screwed into the back panel by 4 screws, though some cases include a clamp to hold it down that way. Step 6. Power motherboard. With the motherboard power being the largest cable and sometimes just long enough, it suggests that you run this cable first and plug it into the board. If there is a second cable for the CPU, remember to connect it as well. Step 7. Installing optical drive. The optical drive for this computer is a DVD-CD read or write combo. Some people prefer to only connect an optical drive when installing items, but one being placed at all times comes in handy when something comes up and you do not want to open the case and connect the drive. Step 8. Installing the hard drives. The size and number of hard drive is completely dependent on style of use and storage needs. Step 9. Connect cables. It is time to connect the cables for the hard drives and optical drives. The cables are keyed so they will only fit in one direction into the board. Don't forget the cable that is attached to the optical drive. Step 10. Install RAM. It is time for the RAM to be inserted. If your computer uses more than one stick, refer it to the manual for which slot to install the stick. If only one stick is going to be inserted, place it in the slot closest to the CPU. Step 11. Install graphics card and expansion cards. If your computer does not come with a graphics card integrated into the motherboard or you are adding an additional card, this is the time to do so. With some high-performance cards, additional power cables might need to be installed. The manual for the card should tell you how many cables are needed, in case it is a 6-pin and an 8-pin. After that, if it is secured with screws in place, the network card and audio card for the computer are connected into the slots below the graphics card. Step 12. Cable management. Small steps taken throughout the process of installing the components can pay off huge at this point by not needing to rerun the cables around brackets or through holes in the frame. Some of the management was done out of the box for this model, being that the front panel and fan cables were already secured ahead of time. Another thing to think of is that the back panel does not leave a large space if you have several cables running over the top of others. Step 13. The final product. The assembly of a brand new computer can take several hours. Just to remove and mount in a new case with no other modifications, it took 3 hours, and 2.5 of that just the reinstalling time. Thanks for watching!